Welcome to the bone chapter. Be sure to refer to your lab document in resources. It's actually pages 8 through 13, maybe 8 through 11, about the bones, and those are the things you need to memorize about bones, such as bone parts, the different bones, and so on. We can't cover all those in these PowerPoints. But here's our skeleton. Meet Mr. Bones, see more bones. Our skeleton is composed of two separate skeletons, the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton is yellow on this diagram. It consists of the head, the neck, and the trunk. And the appendicular skeleton is the bones of the arms and legs and the girdles that hold those bones. So we have an upper pectoral girdle and a lower pelvic girdle. There are a lot of functions of the skeletal system, obviously support, storage of minerals in the form of calcium and phosphate, red blood cell production in the red bone marrow, or all cells are produced in the bone marrow. Bones protect organs such as the cranium protects the brain, the ribs protect the heart and lungs, leverage with skeletal muscles to move the body. We categorize these bones on shape. So flat bones are fairly flat, although obviously the bones of the cranium are curved, but the sternum, the cranial bones, the ribs are flat bones. Suturar bones are small bones that form between the cranial bones and the sutures, and this is not a common category, and numbers of sutural or Wormian bones would vary between people. Long bones, like your arms and your legs, your upper arm is your humerus, your upper leg is your femur, but also keep in mind that a long bone would be a finger, a phalanges, and we'll look at these later. Irregular bones, well, you can't get more irregular than that bone. That's the sphenoid bone of the face, but also the vertebrae, other facial bones. Sesamoid bones are small, like the patella, the kneecap. But also other bones form, in various places. So we don't all have the same number of bones. Some people have accessory bones in their arms, in their hands, and their feet. Short bones would be boxy bones, like the bones of the wrist. Here's an example of sesamoid bones. Your tarsals are your ankle bones, metatarsals are your foot bones, and phalanges are your toe bones. There will be quite a variety of features on our bones. Again, refer to the lab document to know which features you have to remember. But if there's tension on that bone, such as, a ligament or tendon is attached to that bone will grow in that area, and you'll have a projection. Depressions may be where blood vessels travel, so you're going to find a variety of different features. A canal or meatus is a large passageway. If you put your finger in your ear, that's your external auditory meatus. It's your outer ear, goes to your eardrum. A process is a projection or bump. Our sinuses, this pink color up here, are our sinuses, and those are cavities within the bone filled with air, and they help us give resonance to our speech, and they lighten the bone. Foramen are very small holes. Well, they could be large holes. Foramen are holes to the bone. You can see two of these in the chin. These will be the mental foramina, and you'll have nerves that travel through those holes in the bone. A fissure is an elongated cleft or gap, and if you look in the orbit of the eye, you can see a fissure here where the optic nerve is going to travel. We have to know all these features of the humerus, and the best way to understand these features is to draw out your bone and label the bone. You can certainly come into campus and examine these individual bones. These different features of this bone include head, tubercle, sulcus, tuberosity, diaphysis, which is the shaft of the bone, trochlea, and condyle. The femur surface features include the trochanter. Here's a greater trochanter, and here is a lesser trochanter, and it's a rough projection. There is a neck on the femur, which leads to the head. This whole end of the bone is called epiphysis. The shaft, again, is the diaphysis. And a facet is a small, flat, rounded surface. A condyle is a rounded projection. The pelvis surface features include the crest. Here is a crest, which is a prominent ridge. A fossa, here's a fossa, which is a shallow depression. Up here you can see it labeled as the iliac fossa. This hip bone, there are two hip bones, right and left, and each is composed of 3 fused bones. The ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. A spine is a pointed or narrow process. And a ramus is an extension that makes an ankle. If you want more time to think about these questions, just pause the video. I'm going to go quickly through the questions. So we have to know the anatomy of a long bone. This long bone consists of a shaft called the diaphysis. At the end, at the extended ends, will be the epiphysis. This would be the proximal epiphysis. Down at the bottom is the distal epiphysis. This narrowing here is the metaphysis. The epiphysis is spongy bone. Spongy bone is also called cancellous bone or trabecular bone, and it looks very different under the microscope than compact bone. The walls of the diaphysis are compact bone. Spongy bone does look spongier. It has more openings. Going the length of the diaphysis is a cavity called the medullary cavity, and you'll see blood vessels and nerves traveling through that cavity. In children, this cavity would be filled with red bone marrow, which is responsible for making blood cells. In adults, it converts to fatty tissue. Here's a closer view of the blood supply. Bones are extremely vascular. I suggest you pause this and read the captions. The periosteum is the membrane that surrounds the bone. It has a good blood supply, it has a good nerve supply, and it has lymphatic vessels. Here we are looking at compact bone. Compact bone is this smooth bone here. In the center is